welcome to the Infinity Bros podcast, the only podcast that's perfectly balanced as all things should be. I'm your host, Max Mosier, here today with one other Infinity Bro. I am joined today by my co-host, Robbie Sauter. Robbie, how are you?
I'm doing great, having a great night. Super excited to be here and talk about so many excellent things that have been happening the last few days.
Things have been happening the last few days. I can
many,
confirm
many
that.
things. Yeah,
Many
definitely.
things
There have been things
that have occurred. There we go.
Events are happening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you're listening, you're here to listen to us chat about The Last of Us. And so we're going to chat about The Last of Us episode 2 today, titled Infected. We're excited to chat about that. We will also get into Hot or Snot, where we talk about things in pop culture that are relevant to us today. And we'll also muse about a couple other things. I got a couple other side things for nerd news today that I will drop on Robbie. Robbie has no idea that I prepared some of this, nor did he have any idea I prepared him for some Would You Rather questions in our pre-show. If you are interested in hearing more of us at the end of this show, make sure you check out our Patreon episode that happened for 30 minutes prior to this show, where we talked about Would You Rather. And what was your favorite Would You Rather question on the pre-show, Robbie?
Oh man, I really liked. I don't think because it was the Would You Rather, but I was really excited about the breakfast draft.
Yeah, the breakfast draft.
We should do an entire podcast on just drafting breakfast.
We'll do a breakfast draft sometime.
Okay,
we're gonna do it. So we asked those questions. Check out those things on the Patreon episode today. We're excited to get into it. Caveat too on the episode, we tried to get a third co-host. There's 6 of us on the show. If this is your first time listening, we are a revolving cast of 6. One of our co-hosts, dear friend of mine, might not be a friend of Robbie's anymore, wasn't able to make it today for whatever reason. Communication was lapsed. There was a sever in communication.
Who is that?
Is Zane. Infinity Bro Zane.
Who's Zane?
You're pleading amnesia. That's what you're pleading.
I don't know who that person is. It sounds like a made-up person.
And, well, he was our Last of Us player, had played the games. So unfortunately, if you're somebody that's Last of Us fan and you're looking for a review that has people that have played the game, unfortunately, you're not going to get that this episode. So joke's on you. We already have the download from you. So it doesn't matter if you don't listen anymore. But if that doesn't tickle your fancy, I promise we'll still give a great review. We do like television and movies, so we will give a great review of it still. And Robbie is currently playing The Last of Us. So
I have played through this portion of the game.
Well, and I just want, I think normally I wouldn't say that, but I think for this show in particular, that's an important caveat to put out there.
I
on
agree.
The front end. And we're a couple minutes in, so I already got your downloads. So I don't care. But yeah. So Robbie, how are things going in life? A question for you: are you on The Last of Us? We don't have to rate the show right now, but are you like on The Last of Us craze right now with HBO Max?
I am on the craze. I am at that point where I really wish I could binge watch this. Right? It's HBO Max and Disney still do the weekly releases, which is okay. The problem right now that I'm having is there's no other show. It's just The Last of Us. Where in the fall there was Lord of the Rings, there was football, and then there was House of the Dragon. So there was many things to like entertain me. Right now it's The Last of Us and then only football on the weekends. So
2 football games left.
That's 3 technically for the season. But the Super Bowl.
Oh yeah, sorry.
I'm having to fill my time with other things, and I just want to binge watch The Last of Us because it's so gripping that I just want to be in that world. And right now, I can't get any more, and I have to wait 3 more days as of the time of this recording.
I'm kind of surprised Disney Plus hasn't had something in the chamber for right now. Like, I'm surprised they haven't looked at the slate and gone like, you know what, end of January, let's throw in a B+ Marvel show or a side quest Star Wars Andor-esque. Not that everybody loved Andor, but I'm saying like something that could fill in the gap. There's just this kind of wide range right now before things back up with
Tales of the Jedi should have came out right now.
That's
and it should have been a weekly thing because they they released Tales of the Jedi as all of it, I believe.
Mhm.
And it was just like, here it is, but it was also during when Andor was going on. It's like, why not wait? Why
Yeah.
aren't you
Huh.
waiting? Like, so that would be my. There is the Bad Batch, so there are people that are watching the Bad Batch and enjoying that. I have not kept up to date with the Bad Batch, so I'm not, but I'm sure others are. Like, I know Infinity Bro Jarrett and Infinity Bro Isaac
Yeah.
are
Yeah.
all in on the Bad Batch, so they do have something else. Right now, I just don't.
Yeah. Same. Um, we also want to get to a iTunes review we received. You
Oh
can leave us an
yeah,
iTunes review for our podcast. If you are willing, we would love to do that. We will read it on the show like I'm about to. You also can leave us a review on Spotify. We're up to 20 reviews on Spotify. Wow.
nice.
Thank you so much. And 4.8, I believe, is our score right now. So if you didn't leave us a 5 on there, you're dead to us.
That's a well
In the
reviewed
iTunes,
podcast.
yeah, I every good podcast I've ever heard has all 5-star ratings, Robbie. Nobody ever disagrees with any podcast. That's good.
That's good. That's good.
This comes from Ben's Zachary. So it's BN lowercase z followed by an uppercase Z. There is no space.
Okay.
Zachary. This was left on the 11th, 2 weeks ago. We apologize. Is it Ben or Zachary? I don't know. Ben Zach. I don't know.
Ben
We
Zachary.
apologize. Ben Zachary.
Yeah,
We didn't
someone
we
name.
didn't say it on the last episode, so my apologies. The title is Best Marvel Show I've Listened to So Far. He says I first
Oh,
met the Infinity Bros at Twin Cities Con. They were there on
yep.
behalf of their show, and I was there on behalf of DailyPlanetDC.com. They were very welcoming and kind, so I thought I'd find their show and give it a listen. It's just as great as they are, and I've been listening ever since. Your fan-filled commentary captures insight into our shows, movies, comics, and even more. I sometimes and more that I sometimes haven't thought of. I enjoy hearing the differences in perspectives from each bro. Their diverse opinions over polite conversation remind me that constructive criticism from opposing stances can still exist without harmful shouting matches. I love that most about this show. I've only listened to episodes since November 2022, but I already know that this will be a ritualistic listen in my ever expanding podcast library. 5 out of 5 stars. Robbie, it's customary I rate these. I'm going to give this
Yes.
a 5.5 out of 6.
Wow.
Obviously, as though that no, I'm going to give it a high rating. This is a high rating for me.
That's high praise. That is very
It's
high
very
praise.
high praise for me. But my problem, we're missing a shout or a slight at Infinity Bro Zane.
And
It
that is
appears
the bit.
that it's a bit. I've stuck to it, and I
The
can't
bit.
get rid of it now. Through 73 reviews, I can't do that. So,
All he
just a
had to,
tremendous review, though.
and Ben Zachary, all you had to do was say, "I love the insight of the 5 Infinity Bros. I wish there was 6."
Oh, the rating shoots through the moon, right?
Oh
Like then,
yeah.
like I think we posterized that.
Oh
That's
yeah.
hanging up on our office
Like,
wall,
that's
right?
all anyone has to say. If anyone just comes on and says this show is obviously it has only goes to 5 on there, but goes this is a 5 out of 5. The only thing I wish is that there was 6 bros instead of 5. That 6 out of 6, is that a 6 out of 6?
I think if somebody even leaves a review, I'm at the point where I'm looking for a new review that all it says is Infinity Rosane sucks. Whatever the rating is, I don't care. I'm probably going to give you a 6 out of 6.
Just say Zane sucks because
I
I haven't
You
seen
could
him.
shorten it up to Zane sucks. It's really not that much work if you're a first time listener. Like even if we aren't good, totally fine. Leave us a
Yeah,
1 out of 5 review.
yeah.
We totally get it. Just attack Zane, and honestly, we're probably going to thank you on the way out for
Thank you for your comment. Have a blessed time.
it. Brutal.
Love it.
The Ben Zachary review. Did you get a chance to meet Mr. Zachary when you were at Twin Cities Con,
So
Robbie?
I couldn't tell you if it was this certain person. It was someone that Isaac I know had talked to. Um, but there was a few different people that Isaac had connected with because him and Mark were there longer than I was. I was only there for a few hours. Um, so it's either one of the artists that we met or it was a guy that actually found Isaac again later. And they had talked for a longer period of time. And the guy, yeah, seemed generally interested and chatted with us and seemed very nice. So yeah, really appreciate that. And like we've been talking about these con things more and going to these more and doing that and just connecting. And I think that just that alone, getting one guy who's like, this show's awesome, is 100% worth it. Cause I think, From the production team all the way to the talent, I think our show is top notch.
Yeah, and I mean it's one of those reviews that you kind of, when you start out in podcasting, you really desire a review like this.
Yeah.
One, yes, he acknowledges his other show, his work in it too, but just to go like, hey, we made this connection in a community setting. I really liked checking them out, and I personally like. We make a lot of jokes about shouting matches and talking over each other and
Yeah.
doing all sorts of gobbledygook, and just to hear somebody appreciate, I think, what our end goal is as a team, and that's to, we're not going to agree on everything, and we're not apologetic for that.
Right.
And I think there are civil conversations in this setting that I think we convey really well, and I think it's what makes our podcast so special and unique compared to others. So I completely appreciate it. And this one was a little more, to be honest, Robbie, this one was a little more special. So I'm glad we could take a couple minutes to highlight it and
I
celebrate
agree.
this one
Yeah,
as a
thank you so
team.
much.
So yeah. So Ben Zachary, thank you from the bottom of our heart. We're appreciative of you, and we're thankful you're part of the Infinity Bros universe. And if you're listening for the first time, seriously, leave us a review and make fun of Zane, and we'll read it on the show. We promise.
Yeah.
And we won't wait 15 days like we did with this one. So let's get into The Last of Us episode 2, the TV series that is taken over HBO Max. Before we get into any of that, I want to make sure that you, as a listener, are familiar with how we rate things. You heard us rate some things earlier, so I want to make sure you're familiar with that. We're going to put that bumper right here. And then before we dive into anything about The Last of Us, if you're like Robbie or myself and you have not played the video game, we want to make sure that you're familiar that we're going to be spoiling some things. We're going to be spoiling this episode. Robbie might be speaking about future terms from the game's perspective. I am not looking into spoilers, so I might accidentally spoil something. It's funny with a show like this, you don't really have to. What's the way I'm trying to say? You can pontificate about it, but you really can go figure it out if you'd like what's going to happen.
Right.
So, this is a spoiler warning for those that are like me and Robbie that have not fully played the game.
Sweet.
Robbie, The Last of Us video game, you said you've been playing it right now. Just from a video game perspective, you're playing along while watching it, which I've heard a lot of people rave is a really good decision.
Yeah.
Talk about that experience so far before we talk about the show itself, and go ahead and give me a loose rating of what you think the game is playing it through however many chapters you've played.
So I'm basically right after this chapter. And the game is amazing, and to tie it in with this show is incredible because I have to shout out Jbuck, and I think I did this last time I was on the pod. But Jbuck has been doing these comparison videos where he shows like scenes in the video game and scenes from the show, and how well they've matched things up is incredible. They this is what the fans of these video games want. We don't want you to Halo the bit. It's not your IP to play. I suppose it is your IP to play with, but it's not your IP to play with, because if you play with it, the fans will attack you and you will not have a second season. If you can tinker, right? Like you can tinker a little bit. There has to be changes that we'll talk about further on in the pod. There has to be changes here or there that and I think some fans, diehards, can piss and moan about it, and I think we can move on. But if you are honest to the story that the people who play the video game, loved, we will love the show. Stop trying to tinker with things. Stop making Master Chief's helmet come off. Don't do that. Don't make Sonic a humanoid. Okay? Just give us the story we want. Give us the story that's already written. Uncharted. Uncharted is another great example. Give us the story we fell in love with on the big screen, and we will say, thank you, please, can I have another? That's my 2 cents. That's what needs to happen with these
You
things.
were very vocal about Halo.
Yeah.
You were very vocal about the disdain of that show. So if this is your first time listening, I would encourage you to go back and check out some episodes where Robbie reviews Halo. I think they're very insightful.
I'm very angry, actually.
He's a very angry person.
I was very passionate. I don't know how well my reviewing was, but I was passionate about it. So if you enjoy the passion of it, then you go ahead.
I did not watch, and that was a show that was on my radar because of how
Yeah.
much I participated in Halo when I was a kid.
Mhm.
I didn't watch because of you, and I feel pretty okay about it. So,
I wish. I have a master.
um,
You probably can't see it. If this will be for YouTube,
I do.
but
I see the Master Chief
I have a
tattoo.
Master Chief helmet.
Yeah,
Like if I was Master Chief, that would be on my head.
I think you're the Master Chief of this podcast. You're certainly better than Zane. I'll tell you that right now.
Who?
Exactly. In the context of video games and TV and movies, this just feels like a shift that's occurring. Similar, the only way I can kind of describe this feels like how Marvel and DC movies were before the Marvel Cinematic Universe came along.
Yeah.
This feels like some are good, some are not. It feels like the cinematic people are going, we have to make these changes with the story because our version and mode of storytelling is not conducive to the 30-hour of gameplay you take with the character you're playing, whether
Yep.
it's PS4 or Xbox, etc., etc. I but I don't buy that, and I think The Last of Us is really proving that any narrative can really work as long as you fill in the appropriate gaps, which we'll talk
Yeah.
about here in a little bit, but also you actually have opportunities based on how you write to fill in gaps and give more context while also allowing the audience who knows what's coming to be surprised because they've made decisions that are different from the game while
Mhm.
keeping the major themes of the game. And I've really appreciated hearing from guys like Zane talk about that and Isaac talk about that on our previous episode. You can check that out, episode 149. I think overall, though, we're watching a shift. This show is going to really push everybody to do this. I think you'll
Yep.
see. I've joked about Kingdom Hearts, but I've always said Kingdom Hearts would make a killer cartoon show on a weekly basis for kids. I think it'd make a
It
killer.
probably would. No,
It
I agree
would
with you.
if done
Yeah.
correctly. And I think, but like Super Mario Brothers, you're going to see that movie coming out soon. I know Sonic has had a ton of success. I
The
think
Witcher
there's a
series has been
yeah. You
it,
guys loved that series.
love the Witcher
It was
series.
hit or miss, right? I just think these companies, this is very similar to the superhero craze. I think we're going to see more video games take more shots like this. And there's tons of great stories that haven't been explored that have opportunities to be explored in the video game world. So I fully see that. I know Twisted Metal's coming out in the future too with Anthony Mackie and
Yeah, and I think so. Just to give my take on it, is I think the problem has been is that a lot of these companies are taking these IPs and they're taking the character that people love and they're making their own story with it, and the stories aren't as good as just the general story that we already have.
Mhm.
The thing that I'm okay with, and cyber. So there's a anime on Netflix called Cyberpunk Ridge Runner. I think it's Ridge Runner. Which is a whole secondary side story to Cyberpunk. Cyberpunk is an okay game.
Yeah.
I've played like 50 hours of it or so. It's enjoyable. It has a pretty decent story. It's an okay game. But this anime is just its own story. It's its own thing. And I can appreciate that and I enjoy it. But if it would have been about the story that I already played and then they just decide to do whatever they want with it, then I have an issue.
Yeah.
Like, don't take like, and it's the same thing with Master Chief. If you give me Master Chief in Halo and you make it the story that I know and I love, and you give me the character that I know and I love, I would have been thrilled. I would have been very happy, and they probably would have done a lot better and got a second season. But
And they have
when you take,
opportunities with there's video games that have come out recently. I think of like Destiny. I'm like,
yeah,
there are opportunities to
yeah,
do what they were trying to do with Halo in games like Destiny that have storylines, but they're not that mainstream.
right.
I
You can
just
make
think
whatever story you want with those.
100%. I think
Yeah,
there's video games out there. Fortnite's a great example of this. I think you could totally attempt to make a game, a movie about that game, and build your own story with an appropriate audience and appropriate premise.
well, I think even
It's
Sonic is kind of a good example of that.
yeah,
Sonic's a
exactly.
great example because Sonic like has like a kind of story, but not like really. But as long
It's
as
a
you're
comedy.
yeah, as
Yeah.
long as you're a funny hedgehog that's beating Doctor Robotnik, I'm happy with it.
Yeah, that's
If
the
you're
premise,
a
right? That's what
creepy
we want.
humanoid hedgehog, I'm good. Gosh, and
The
what a
last
good move by them. Sorry, I just
oh
shout out to
gosh,
them again for making that change. They're going to get 3 movies out of it because they made a simple change and they
sure. I
listened to
mean,
the fans.
when we reviewed that, I mean, that was our feedback as well. We really
Yeah,
were critical of it, and I'm impressed that they had the guts to make
good
that
for
call.
them.
That was a big
Absolutely
decision to make, but it paid
huge.
off. The Last of Us is on HBO Max. Episode 2 streamed this last Sunday, January 22nd. The title is Infected. We talked about episode
Yes.
1 the previous week too. The premise of the show is after a global pandemic destroys civilization, a hardened survivor takes charge of a 14-year-old girl who may be humanity's last hope. Stars Pedro Pascal as Joel Miller, Bella Ramsey as Ellie Williams, Gabriel Luna is Tommy Miller. Great to see Gabriel Luna back after his stint with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Mm-hmm.
Jeffrey Pierce plays Perry. Philip A. Kavats plays the male clicker. Additionally, it's important to note he also is not voicing the character. The video game clickers are voicing the clickers in the show,
Yeah. Yeah.
which I think was a nice touch. And I know a lot of video game people are very pleased about that. And then Anna Torv playing Teresa Tess Servopoulos. I got to tell you, Anna Torv is a huge, big fan of Anna Torv. I was one of the biggest Fringe fans during that season of show. I think she's an underrated actress. I think you made a joke on this one of our podcasts, Robbie, how like if I like an actress and she's not in the MCU, I'll immediately go, what MCU character could she play? I
Right.
did that with her the other day, and I legit was like, she actually wouldn't have been a bad choice for Captain Marvel, was something I said out loud to
What?
myself. I'm kind of surprised that she
What?
hasn't been more mainstream.
Isn't she pretty old?
Sure, but yeah.
That'd have been that's a weird
79.
guess.
79.
Yeah. She was born in 79.
Yeah.
So probably a little too old for Captain Marvel.
Yeah.
Actually, I was
Neither here nor
now that you just said that, I thought Madam Web. Actually,
Adam Webb would be a good spot for her.
yeah.
It would be. Many are comparing Last of Us to Game of Thrones, saying that this is kind of the show that could be taking over as the overall mainstream show. It has the same music from both parts of the original video game.
Mhm.
Merle Dandridge reprised her role as Marlene from the games. I know Zane talked about that last week. It is the first HBO series to be based on a video game. And Robbie, I got a couple more pieces of trivia. Could you pull up the numbers for me on HBO of like the following day viewing? You
Oh
have
yeah.
those numbers. I could not find those.
Oh gosh, yeah.
I'll
Where
edit
was
this.
that?
I'll edit this out, but I would like to bring that up here in a minute.
Oh, where was that?
You put it in our
Ish.
group chat, so maybe you can
Yeah,
scroll
I'm
up and
gonna
do that. I got a
scroll
couple
up.
more things I want to highlight anyway, so it's okay.
Go ahead.
Bella Ramsey vowed not to look at social media comments when her casting was announced, saying it was her first experience with a lot of negative reactions and that she was aware of
Absolute
all of it.
BS.
Zane and Isaac talked about that last week. You can talk about that
Okay,
more.
good. Yeah, you don't need to hit on it, but
Nope.
it is
Don't need to hit
absolute
on it. Nope.
BS.
It's ridiculous. All three of them talked about it. Carrie Ann Moss was considered for the role of Tess before Anna Torv. I'm really glad Anna Torv was chosen. Also, Jada Pinkett Smith was considered for the role of Marlene as well. And this will obviously cover the first series of the Last of Us video game series. Robbie, do you have those HBO stats that I was asking for?
I am still scrolling.
That's okay.
I don't remember. It was a while ago that we talked about that. A lot has
The Last of
happened.
Us. You're good. The Last of Us was created by Craig Mazin and Neil Druckmann. Neil Druckmann obviously is the creative director and writer of this. So his involvement is very evident in this show. It's evident that he is getting all the say of how things are, but also allowing certain shifts to occur. We talked about this pre-show, but I'm going to talk about it right now. Some of the things that are different, and this is one of those spoiler warnings, which is why I wanted to put in there. The spores are different. So in the game, the way it works is the spores are airborne, and that's why they've got to wear masks. And so a majority of the time that communication occurs, masks are on. Well, the feedback with Pedro Pascal being in this was he's the Mandalorian. He's going to have to wear another mask, blah, blah, blah,
Right.
blah, blah. Zane made that joke last week. They've deviated from that, which I think was a wise move. As somebody who doesn't play the game, I think this was a really good move.
Yeah.
You make a villain that is able to be seen, but also it creates, I think, to me as a viewer, a more sense of doom and gloom when you're seeing how big these tendrils are. Um, Showrunner Craig Mazin explained that this change came out of a need to build a bit of more believability into the world. If we put spores in the air, he said, it would be pretty clear that they would spread around everywhere and everybody would have to wear a mask all the
Yeah.
time. It's a welcome change that would have been robbed of Pedro Pascal's wonderfully expressive face. That comes from Kotaku.com. But the interview was with Variety that he gave that review. Robbie, did you like that shift?
I did because one, like in our previous episode they already talked about, but Pedro Pascal needs his face revealed because he's just a
Mm.
fantastic man. He's everyone's dad. Everyone loves Pedro Pascal. But I like that shift because I think it does make sense. Because if like the video game, you can show spores like, oh, this is a green area with like the spores jumping around. Like, I think that would look a little jarring on screen. And I think the question would be like, well, what if there's just wind? Like, like it just doesn't make sense for spores to be the thing infecting me because then, like, how would you ever avoid it? Because I think that is a flaw, I would say, in the games. Like, you can't avoid a spore.
Right.
Um, so I think it makes sense, and I enjoy that. I think the route they chose is a more scientifically like accurate route for something like this to spread because it is like a living, moving fungal infection.
Another change that happens is Joel didn't get infected because of the Atkins diet. So if you remember in episode 1, Sarah doesn't make pancakes because they were out of flour.
Hmm.
So they couldn't have contaminated food. So that's why the tendrils couldn't get in their systems, which is why those two weren't infected. And then Joel makes the joke, but is serious that he's on the Atkins diet. So they're
Yeah,
not eating anything flour that is contaminated. Additionally, the infection spread. I'm sorry. Additionally, the infection is connected, and I actually, to me, I had no idea. I thought this was part of the games, but I loved the concept of like
it's a
everything's connected.
hive.
So
Yeah,
if you step on this, they're all going to know where you are. I think that's a great zombie feature that
yeah,
is a different take on the zombie narrative, but also really I think sets up the season as a whole to be running from this mob of clickers. I'm really excited about that. So,
it's a
Robbie,
great
let's go
move.
ahead and rate episode 1 before we get into episode 2. What is your rating of episode 1? Just quick thoughts on that
Oh
because we
gosh,
reviewed it last episode.
Oh my gosh, episode 1 is a 6. Episode 1 was it's so jarring, and even as someone that knew like the big part that was going to happen,
Mm-hmm.
like it was still like so emotionally hitting.
Yeah.
And I think that's a big task because a lot of shows that's a build up. Like that's a build up, like you build up like that relationship with Joel's daughter for a few episodes and then you're like you rip it away. So for them to make that hit as hard as it did in 40 minutes is incredible. So yeah, 6 out of 6.
It hit so well. 6 out of 6 for me too. That's an Infinity Snap still. The thing that really was impactful about that episode was obviously Sarah, but then you get into the boy that just wanders into Boston.
Oh yeah,
And that
yeah,
was just
yeah.
really like, I think both of those scenes really just worked really well back to back and really gives you exactly what you need to follow and care about Joel, but also know how messed up he is when he gets 20 years later. Yeah,
Right.
episode 1 was great. I I when I was building my rating originally, I kind of thought, oh, maybe I'll give it a 5.8 because there were some slow parts in the middle of the episode that I feel like could have been cut, or like just a couple of conversations that I felt were a little long. But I couldn't not give it a 6 because I didn't know anything about the show and I was
Yeah,
immediately hooked. And so to
yeah.
me, you do your job, that's a 6 out of 6. We can, because that other stuff could catch up to you later when you get to episode 2 through, I believe, 10 episodes is how many episodes we're gonna have this season. So they're
Yeah.
for sure having a second season, right? Um,
Yes, absolutely.
I yeah, this show is great. Let's go ahead and get into episode 2, The Infected. Robbie, go ahead and give us your broad strokes and what your thoughts are of this episode.
Uh, Really quick, I'll give you those stats that I did find. It was a
Oh, thank
they
you.
had a 22% more or like first time viewers on the second episode, which is the highest that like a new show has ever had for HBO. So Think of like
And
all the great like seasons of Game of Thrones that have come out on HBO, or like Sopranos, all these incredible shows that have come out on HBO. The Last of Us had the largest jump of like new viewers from one episode to another. So that's insane.
they
Like,
made tons of money off of this. Like
oh
new
yeah.
people purchasing subscriptions
Well,
went
the
through the
the other
roof.
thing, the other thing on that, and I don't have the exact number here, but I think it was like in the 600 something percent
Mhm.
of people buying the Last of Us video game over the last like 2 weeks has shot up.
I
Like,
would
it's an
imagine.
astronomical number of people are buying this game, even
Mhm.
though if people were wise, they would have PlayStation Plus and would have
It was free
downloaded
on
it.
PlayStation Plus.
It
Yep,
was
I
free,
I have it.
which also I think it was free like a couple months ago when they were like pushing
Mhm.
The Last of Us, which was brilliant marketing. Um, so yeah, just those little stats for you.
Yeah.
My broad strokes on episode 2, kind of already talked about a little bit, but it's when you have a show that understands its source material and appreciates what the fans loved, and it does feel like a show made by fans. You get this. You get just scenes that look like they're from the video game. This
Mhm.
looks like the cutscenes from the video game, like all of it, and it's so wonderful that that HBO has like recognized this and they're doing it this way, because so far both episodes are 6 out of 6 for me, um, because of what they're doing, and I'm not bored at all, because I think
Mhm.
there is. I think you could make an argument that in the first episode there were moments where they're just kind of talking and
Yeah,
obviously like giving you some insight on what's going on, or you could have been like, okay, but I'm ready now for like
to go.
give me more of the fungi infected zombie things. Where in this episode there was none of that. This episode was going from the rip, and like you're in it, and it's an hour of just like when are they coming, right? Like when are the fun guy coming, or when is the change coming, or when's that next dramatic moment coming. So far for me it's a continued 6 out of 6.
Yeah, I can't remember the last time a second episode that and a first episode is so important. A pilot episode,
Yeah.
your job is to get me hooked, make me want the answer to the questions you're posing, while also pulling me along dramatically. And this show does it very well. Not only is episode 2 gripping, but it's edge of my seat. What's going to happen the entire time? So I don't know. We're past the spoiler. I didn't know Tess was going to go out that way. Never knew.
Mhm.
I thought Tess was in this show for a while, and I thought they would just drop her off at wherever they were going. That was my assumption. And to see her get infected, and I know that I've seen the clip of the original game. What happens?
Mhm.
I know it's different. I thought this was better than the game, and I haven't played the game. I was like, no, I'm way more appreciative of her arc here. How she essentially blew up all those connected things.
Yeah.
It was a little weird how the thing tried to like kiss her and insert its tendrils into her mouth. That was a little strange and jarring.
That was weird. I was like, it's not just gonna eat her, like
Yeah, that was the only
those.
weird thing that happened in the episode, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
dramatically with her, like I was like, come on, like I was wondering, I was like, is she gonna get infected before she lights this place up? That was
Right.
legit what I
Right.
thought. I was like, is the third episode gonna be her chasing them? I was like, is that what's happening here? I
Yeah.
was on the edge of my seat for her with the lighter. And I that's obviously the end of the episode, but what really makes this show special is Pedro Pascal. He is so tremendous. I think I've said this during Mandalorian our review before, but he's the next up and coming big actor. I mean, we talk
Mhm.
about the era of movie stars and how good the Denzel Washingtons, the Tom Hanks, the Tom Cruises are. We're watching the golden age of television, and Pedro Pascal is on the Mount Rushmore right now with this. He's taking this show, and a huge reason it's so successful is him. I think I really do believe it's him. I think Anna Torv had a very important job. Clearly, now that I
Yeah.
know have a
Yeah.
better understanding of her character, and I love her, but Tess is so pivotal. I see why people were very judgmental about who plays this character. And Bella Ramsey too. Zane
Oh,
and Isaac talked
fantastic.
about it, but that girl's acting her socks off right now.
Yeah,
She's just doing a
absolutely.
great job. She plays a snarky, punky girl that is charming but incredibly disrespectful, and I
Right.
love it. And I'm
Like, you're
cheering for
kind
her.
of supposed to, like, not like her.
Yeah, I'm a little offended by her.
Yeah, she
Yeah,
kinda, like, you're just like, "Shut up, kid," but, like, that's the
yeah,
point. Like, she's doing a
exactly.
great job of it.
Yeah, and you watch Joel Miller wrestle with his loss from episode 1 of his daughter.
Yeah.
You're watching that process every time he looks at her. Every time Pedro Pascal is telling me that, and I just really appreciate that. As I read more about this show and I learn more Easter eggs about it, how the scene where they're in the water this episode, it's because she can't swim in the game, and there are
Mhm.
literal game scenes in the game where you're trying to get her from one spot to another because she can't swim,
Yeah.
and they literally make a joke about that. I love that crap. That's good stuff. I think it's really good. But the clickers, man, this is just such, Robbie, a great villain looking thing. This is so much better than I'm thinking of, like, masses where people are getting chased. Like, I think of zombies, I think of I Am Legend, I think of the Chitari and Avengers.
Yeah.
I think of Justice League when they're fighting the oh, forgive me, what's the name of those of Darkseid's minions? You know what I'm
Oh
talking about.
gosh. Yeah, yeah, I was
Parademons, the Parademons.
Parademons, yeah.
Like, just all these different, like, masses of creatures. This one might be
Wait,
at the
man.
top, man, just not on only of its, like, what it brings to the table, but the look of it is tremendous.
Yeah.
I haven't played the game, but it's apparently more frightening in the game.
Yeah.
And just the concept of this thing, like, owning a body, and the body has no control over it. It's just the fungus, is very freaky, not good at all. This is so good. This show's a 6 out of 6, and I'm I this is Game of Thrones might need to move over. And I who'd have thought we'd say that. I kind of thought Game of Thrones was going to own this whole HBO thing for the next decade. And
I'm not ready to say that.
oh wow, I think the numbers, obviously I've never watched Game of Thrones, but I think the numbers are showing that the population is saying this is what we want.
I think I think the difference is that Game of Thrones started when streaming wasn't as prevalent.
Fair. Good point. Fair.
If Game of Thrones started now, I think it would blow any record HBO has.
Hmm.
I think the other issue The Last of Us does have is it has a limited amount of content to go off of at the moment. It only has 2 games to go off of at the moment. And I assume we're going to get through the entire first game in this first season. And there's no, like, there's not an extra writer. And I think that's kind of right now it's Achilles' heel is that, okay, once you get through episode or season 1 and season 2, well then now you're not working on people's love for the game. Now you have to make your own story, and it
Mm-hmm.
has to be just as good as the story that I know from the game.
Wow. Yeah, that's a really good point.
So I think for these first 2 seasons, yeah, I think they're gonna blow like House of Dragon out of the water. I think it does have that kind of power. I wouldn't say like it'll have the same fanfare as like Game of Thrones could have had if Game of Thrones
And I'm
started.
not. That's not a
Game if Game
knock
of
on
Thrones
Game of
started.
Thrones.
Oh no, I know,
This
and you're
this
not a
is
Game of
not me
Thrones guy,
knocking
so
Game
like
of Thrones. I'm just saying this appears to be what HBO Max has always put Game of Thrones as, like, their main thing. When you think
yeah,
HBO Max, it's Game of Thrones is their top thing that they're putting
that's
out
their
there.
thing. Yeah,
And then you got Barry and a couple other projects underneath that. I think this is the show they're going to be touting for the next calendar year.
this
You
is
make
the
a great
perfect
point, though.
streaming show. Yeah,
Yeah, this is the perfect streaming show. It's a video game you can play while you want. You can figure out the ending if you want to figure it out.
right.
Similar to Game of Thrones, it's like the books. Go buy the source material and you can figure it out. But also, we're
Mhm.
going to make some shifts on it that are going to cause people to be either really excited or really upset. And that's a
I
huge, great way to get people to talk about your show week in,
Right.
week
I
out.
really hope HBO goes like, "Hey, we can do this with any video game." If Halo, or if sorry, I gave it away.
Calm down.
But if HBO gets a hold of Halo, Oh man, I'll be so happy.
Yeah,
I'd
I
be
just
so
don't see
happy.
Paramount doing that. I don't see them ever giving that up.
Well, Paramount can kick rocks. Paramount
Kick
Plus is
rocks, Paramount.
Paramount Plus is trash. Paramount
What game?
Plus had a chance. They had a
They had a
chance.
shot. They had their shot and they blew
They
it.
had their
What
shot and they
what
blew it.
what game would you want to see them like
Oh,
what game would you want HBO Max to take outside of Halo?
Infamous. If you ever played
Mm,
Infamous, did you ever play that?
mm-mm. I'm
Infamous
familiar with the
is
game, but I've never played it.
oh
No.
gosh, Infamous would be one hell of a game to make into a show, and
Mm,
they would have to go top dollar because the CGI would have to be like legit. It would be that Disney issue where like how much money do we put in the CGI because the main character is like a lightning powered protagonist
sure.
or
I'm really
anti-hero kind
shocked
of.
that they made a Mortal Kombat movie. I think a Mortal Kombat show would do way better on a HBO Max.
I think so too, but yeah, but Infamous or like Borderlands
Borderlands,
um
yeah.
would be solid. Like
Fallout?
there
What about Fallout?
Fallout could be an interesting one. Fallout does actually no, never mind. Fallout has an incredible story they could follow depending on where they wanted to start. But again, that's another those probably cost a lot more. But
Sure.
so it would have to be like something they can make popular again and like people will come see and get the right person. So
Yeah.
HBO Max is the place to do it because they have shown with like things like House of Dragon and all those other and Game of Thrones that they will put the money in
Yeah.
if they know their return is coming and if they know if the
Sure.
product is good. And their products so far, when was the last HBO product? Well, oh no, that's not a good example. I was going to say when was the last bad HBO product? That well, it's Velma. That's trash. But that probably didn't cost as
We're
much to
not talking
make.
about Velma tonight.
We're not talking about Velma. We know
We're
it's
not doing
trash.
that.
We're moving on.
No. I think The Last of Us is really good. I think this is if you're somebody that is listening to us to kind of because we've spoiled a couple things, but we haven't talked about a ton, and I'm okay with that because I think this show is a go see it for yourself show.
Yeah,
I think I love what they're doing with the opening scenes with in this one you have Christine Hakim
that
playing
was
this
incredible.
scientist in
Oh my gosh,
Pakistan or
I
India,
have
excuse me, in
I have
India.
some
Go ahead.
info on that if you want it.
Please do. Tell me some info. Go for it.
So that opening scene in Indonesia happened 2 days before the events that happened to Joel.
Wow.
Or that happened, yeah. So it took place on September 24th, 2003, 2 days before the premiere episode events.
Wow. Forgive me, I
So
said India in Indonesia. Forgive me.
yep. So it was like so this lady when she said like bomb everything right now, like it was legit like you have to either bomb everything right now or you have 48 hours and everything's going to crap. That's like that's how like crazy how serious it was and she goes bomb
Yeah.
bomb the city and then
For
she's
her
like
to
I want to
the
go see my
shaking of the
family.
tea, the
Yeah.
shaking of the tea and putting that down was just like great acting. And I think this show, I hope every episode's like that. I hope every episode gives us like a layer back of what happened
Yeah,
before.
absolutely. Cuz yeah, the first one did too with the talk
Yeah.
show.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Let's show the pre-life, but also show how it happened. I think that's such a missed thing with zombie shows. They're
Oh, for
like
sure.
the whole thing is like the cure, but I love the buildup. The buildup's great too, and you
Yeah.
can walk alongside Joel and his story, which everybody knows and appreciates and respects, and also build the outer narrative. You talked about a season 3 here, Robbie, and I'll just dive in because I think right now our expectations are that they're going to land this plane through 2 episodes. Now there's plenty of time for them to fail here.
Yeah.
Is your expectation if this does go really well after one season that they renew for a third season and they spend the whole second season trying to figure out what they're going to do?
I would assume so cuz like HBO is not the kind to be like okay, it's over and then we're going to move on. We with obviously like Game of Thrones, that's the example. Game of Thrones is so good that they were like, "Hey, let's make House of the Dragon." House of the
Sure.
Dragon is also a limited thing, but House of Dragon's probably like a 4 season thing, is what George R. R. Martin said. And by the time that's done, hopefully the other books of Game of Thrones will be done, and maybe they'll just like retrograde the last 2 seasons of Game of Thrones, and they'll give us what we actually should have got.
Right.
Um, but I think they also have time here because maybe they're like, hey. go make us The Last of Us 3. You guys make us that. We'll get season 2 out in 2025,
5, yeah.
and then we'll make season 3. So like if they could do that. I think that's kind of tough. I think there does have to be an end, but it's not. I don't think they want to end at season 2. That's not an HBO thing to do.
There is no way a Last of Us 3 game is not get made. That game for sure is getting made.
And this is us. I don't know how The Last of Us 2 ends.
Yeah.
So that's another issue. It's like I have no idea how that ends. I don't even know how
Well,
the
even
Last
if
of
it
Us
does
1 ends. I
end,
don't
even if
know.
it does end accordingly, let's hypothetically say it does end with like civilization saved. You could definitely do side stories.
Oh yeah.
In the 20 years between the events.
Right. You could fill a lot of things in, and again, that would come down to story and execution, and how do you make these people that care about Joel,
Miller,
and yeah, Joel and Ellie, how do you make them care about other people in this universe? That's a big task, but I
you
think
got 2 seasons to do it. You can do it.
yeah, HBO
I'm
could do
not
it.
saying we need a 3rd season yet. I still think we got to get through season 1. I want to see these next 7 episodes. There are 9 episodes total. I want to see these next 7 episodes really execute well. The final episode will be on March 12th. That'll definitely be a great review for us to talk about. Any last thoughts on this? We talked about Tess's infection. We talked about the Jakarta incident. We talked about the
Clickers.
water scene and the clickers themselves. I think that pretty much covers it. So
Yeah, I'm trying to think. Is there anything like
firefighters are dead.
It feels like that
One.
wasn't. It feels like that wasn't that much, but like that was the whole episode, and it was great.
Well, there was a lot of tension. I mean,
Yeah,
that the clickers scene of fighting was it was a long scene.
it was. It really was.
Which I loved. I was appreciative of that. Usually those scenes are quick and then you're out the door to talk.
Yeah,
And I
but no, they
appreciated
extended it
that
out, and they
they took
made it.
time.
It
Yeah, I
was
like that.
it was a difficult time for them, and you were on the edge of your seat the whole time because you're just like, how are you going to get away from these things? Like,
Yeah, right.
once you start making any noise, and they did, it always falls into like the TV or movie tropes where like you're trying to be really quiet and then you step on a stick or something and they freak out. But like with those things, it's even more terrifying because I think there's a lot of movie magic done when shows have something that looks like a clicker or something that looks scary, where you don't really get to see a good look of it. No. You got to see those things up close and personal,
Freaky, man.
which is in just shout out to the hair and makeup team. This show will get an Oscar. And if it doesn't, then the Oscars are rigged like many people think they are. But this show is an Oscar worthy show. Pedro
Yeah,
Pascal should be getting an Oscar.
that
Like,
makeup looks tremendous on everybody.
it's
It looks really
incredible.
good. Looks really good. I agree. Really good. Let's head over to nerd news.
Nerd news.
No, I already have a bumper for nerd news. You don't need to sing the bumper.
You have a bumper for nerd news?
We've always had a nerd. Hold on. Have you never heard the nerd news bumper?
I don't have the bumper for nerd news
Hold
when I
on.
do my.
I'll show. Oh no, hold on. I'll show it to you. We'll listen to it real
I
quick.
don't have the bumper for nerd
Yes,
news.
you do. Hold on. I'm gonna show it to you right now.
You have it? Is it in our?
We're gonna
is it in
listen
the
to it.
drive?
Hold on. We're gonna listen to it. It's in there. Hold on. Let me
Oh
show
my
you.
gosh!
Here you go. Ready? I'm
On
gonna
the
play it. You
timestamp.
ready?
Yeah,
You ready to
I'm
listen to
ready.
it?
I'm ready. Yeah.
Oh, I gotta download it. Dang it.
Oh, this is
Don't
great.
have it. Come on. We don't need to download. I don't need to scan my download.
I'm waiting.
Oh my gosh. Come on. This is getting out of hand. Here we go.
Hey Zane, I was looking into getting into this gunpla thing. There's one called the Unicorn.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Actually, Jared, what you're thinking of is RX-0 Unicorn Gundam 2 Banshee, which is from the Mobile Suit. Actually, you know what? It's time for nerd news.
There you go. That's the
Okay, I did. I have heard that before.
I'm literally
I
not
forgot.
adding. I'm not adding the music now. That was the bumper. Nerd news.
It's great.
Yeah, it's brilliant. Another shot at Zane.
Yeah.
Tobey Maguire.
What?
Have you heard of her?
I believe that's a man.
Oh, sorry. Yes, it's a man. Sorry. Yes, Tobey Maguire today on Marvel.com had an interview.
Okay.
This was this today? This was today. How about that?
I
It
don't
was
know.
today at 4:54 today. He had an interview that was done behind the scenes for the upcoming behind the scenes coffee table book, Spider-Man No Way Home, the official movie special. The interviewer
Oh.
asked about his return, to which Tobey Maguire said, when they called initially, I was like, finally, I got the call and was immediately open to coming to do this. Not without nerves, What will this look like and what will the experience be? But to get to show up with this beautiful, talented, creative team and play together, it's just like, yes, it's fun and exciting. He goes on to say, and this is him essentially saying I'm down to come back, is I love these films. I love all these different series. If these guys called me and said, would you show up tonight to hang out and goof around? Or would you show up to do this movie or read a scene or do a Spider-Man thing? It would be a yes, because why wouldn't I want to do that?
Hmm.
Is this confirmation that he's coming back for Secret Wars?
I mean, probably. I mean, it doesn't seem like the Marvel thing to just let people get away, right? Like Marvel, like we're gonna get Tony, like RDJ is gonna come back eventually. Chris Evans is gonna be
Yeah,
back.
Chris Evans too.
Like
Yeah.
these people don't get to get away. Like once you're in that universe, you're in it. And I think
Yeah.
any of them, anyone who's been in any of them could have a chance to be back. So yeah, I think this is a confirmation that he is for sure. We're gonna see him again for sure.
His willingness is shocking because historically,
Well, what else
that
is
was
Tobey
not always the
Maguire
case.
doing? What else is Toby doing?
I
Nothing.
agree.
He's not doing
With
anything.
Robbie, with all due respect, there's not many actors in the Marvel Cinematic Universe that are doing other things. There's a couple. But for the most part,
Zoe
I was
Saldana's
going to
doing
say
things.
Zoe Saldana would be one of them. I'm
She's
just saying,
making
like, Robert Downey Jr. is not
bucks.
making a ton of other films. He's in some
Right.
things. He's in the Oppenheimer movie, but like he's not making a ton of things. Chris
Right.
Evans, he did Knives Out, but like
Chris Evans has done Knives Out. He's done a few things. So Chris
he's in
Evans, I feel
the
like
Apple show. Yeah, he did the Apple
Chris
show.
Evans is trying to branch out.
Yeah, I think so. But I think for the most part, these guys
Well,
don't do it on things differently.
The number one
Jeremy
who's
Renner
doing
would be the argument too.
No, Chris Pratt's the argument. Chris Pratt is doing anything and everything that anyone wants him to do.
Because Chris Pratt knows he's like, I've got a very small window where I'm the guy.
He is, yeah, and he is.
Another guy will come around.
I feel like his window is already closed, but people still think he's the guy.
I think he's the guy.
You think so?
I think he's one of the guys. I'd agree with that.
Pedro Pascal's the guy.
I think Pedro Pascal's the TV guy.
Chris Hemsworth is also in this weird space where he's also the guy because he had that show on, like, Disney's really in love with Chris Hemsworth. And I watched the show. I don't whatever, like,
his dementia, his discovering of having the gene that could give him Alzheimer's is fascinating, because that's the first time that I've heard somebody in this whole situation go, no, I've got a reason to step away permanently. Like I could see him 5 years from now go like, I'm done. And I'm like, the only person that's really done it so far is Batista. Batista's the only guy.
Oh yeah, like, no, he's
I'm
out
done.
The door.
I'm not coming back. Don't even think I'm coming back.
Right, and he's actually another one that's actually done a lot of stuff
while being in the Marvel. Way better of an actor than he is, though.
I agree. I do
agree. Do not think he's that good of an actor.
I think
I think he can act, but I don't think he's like the best actor like everybody else kind of gives him credit for. They're like, I can't believe he acts so well. I'm like, no, he's a wrestler that has a limited range that gets to be on specific projects, and those projects elevate his range.
Right, and he's like limited by like having all his tattoos and having like being a
massive guy.
Like, unfortunate for him. If he was like Pedro Pascal size, he's probably getting more work. But you're limited in that role, and that's okay. You got your space.
I'm happy to see Tobey Maguire's happy to come back, though, because I know historically he was the guy that was like, I don't know, need to do it. No. Apparently, behind the scenes, he's not the best guy.
Don't tell me that.
Apparently, behind the scenes, he's whatever.
Yeah.
So, but Avatar, the sequel, overtakes Avengers Infinity War in its rating of money made. You can check out our TikTok account. Robbie actually showed a TikTok of this.
million views almost.
Why are we yelling at that? Why are we yelling at that? I'm not
Because
bored of it.
Because you guys hate Avatar, and I'm the only one that's seen it.
I don't hate Avatar. I just have
I
no
haven't got
interest
to
in
review
seeing it.
Avatar on this.
Do you
this
want to review it right
podcast.
now? Here, go ahead. Let's review it.
I could give a quick.
Go for it. Let's hear it.
This doesn't seem
Now's the
like
time.
this doesn't seem like the type of
You want to review it?
environment
You're
that
the guy.
I want to review.
Nobody will let me review it. Here you go. Review it. Here you
Am
go.
I
Go
wrong?
for it.
Am I? It's the biggest movie of the last 4 years since Infinity War,
Haven't heard an ask.
and we
For it.
haven't reviewed it.
Okay, two things. One, you've never, since you've seen it, gone, I've got to review this. First point. So that says what you think about the movie. Okay. Two,
I did say I think you guys all need to go see it.
Two, I will watch it when it gets to a streaming platform. I'm with Isaac on that. I will watch it when it gets to a streaming platform. I'm not going to go pay money to see that.
I will say that's a mistake.
Okay.
And I am a little taken aback that you are holding that stance, because you and I are in agreement that there are movies made for the cinema.
Agreed.
And this 100% is the most. I'm saying this, and this is not a lie. It's also my opinion, but it's also not a lie. This is the best movie in 3D and at the cinema you will ever see until we get to the next stage of movie watching experience. There's nothing that comes close. The visual part of this movie was so impactful and so jarring. It sounds like a weird word, but jarring is the right word. You are confused at the CGI in this movie, and you do not know what is real and what is not. That's how good you could not pick it out.
Good.
And I will say, I think there is a weird balance where the CGI and the beauty of this movie actually is so much better than what the story is trying to portray that it actually weakens what the story is. And I think the story is actually okay. I think they fell into a really bad villain trope. And I don't know if you care about spoilers or not.
I actually do. I'm going to say don't spoil it.
Okay. So I won't spoil it, but I feel like they fell into a really bad villain trope that's going to keep carrying on, and I think that's a huge mistake, and James Cameron is an idiot for going down this road. So that's my biggest gripe. The story is actually okay. There are things that about the story and that I really loved. But it mainly centered around watching these people just do life and be in this beautiful world around these beautiful creatures, and their connection with them. The story is mid, I believe was my saying, but the visuals are so good.
For this movie, though, Robbie, has never been that the argument has never been the visuals. It's clear and evident that the time that's gone into this movie is the visuals. My problem with James Cameron is he thinks he's God's gift to storytelling and cinematography.
Yeah.
And that is just, it makes me not want to see it. Maybe I am, you know what? I probably am holding a grudge. I'll say I'm holding a grudge. Sure.
No, you are.
I'm holding a grudge.
Absolutely are. Yeah.
Cool. I'll say it. I'm fine with that. But I'm not going to be bullied into seeing it into the not that you're not trying to bully me. He's the kind of guy that's like, get off your rear end and go see it. It's like, no, I'm going to watch it in my house. Because if the visuals are that good, then I'll see that in my house.
And you'll probably will, but I will say I would be interested to see this movie without the 3D, just to is it as incredible as it was seeing it in 3D? I think that would actually be an interesting comparison, because in 3D this movie's it's confusing.
It's incredible.
It's so incredible that I can't even explain it. It kind of falls in that uncanny valley, what the uncanny valley is.
Yeah.
But it's kind of at a weird spectrum of the uncanny valley, because it looks so real, but it's almost disturbing how real it looks. I don't know if that it's really hard to explain, because I was just, while watching this movie, I was trying to figure this out. It looks so good, but I know it's not real, and there's something off about it. So I don't remember exactly what I gave it when I gave it my review on in our chat. But I would give it a 5.5. I would say it is absolutely a
Wow.
must watch.
Wow.
It is a must watch just
that is such high praise given how much we have like negatively spoken about this movie.
Oh yeah. But I would give it a 5.5 and I would say it's a 5.5 movie going experience.
Wow.
So that could change if I bring it home and I watch it. I'm like, it's okay. But
I feel
right
like we're
now,
affecting your rating on it. I feel like we're totally our negativity is affecting your rating.
you think so?
Like I feel like
don't think so.
I think if we were pumped about it, you'd
No,
give it a 6.
because I was negative too. Oh, you think I would give it a 6? No, because
I think if we all
I was negative
if we
too.
were all hyped about it,
I was just the only one willing to actually go to the freaking thing.
and we're thankful for you. You're a good Infinity
Well,
Bro.
I don't know. If you ask Mark, I've been ostracized by Mark.
Yeah, I don't think
Like,
you should be friends with
I'm
Mark
the
either.
I'm the Avatar guy now. Yeah, I'm a big
That's what you
Avatar
are. You're
guy.
Avatar. You're the Avatar.
The Avatar guy.
Congratulations. You're the Avatar guy.
I get to be the DC guy and the Avatar guy. Oh, that's me.
No. Mark's the DC guy. You're
That
the
is-
Avatar guy. Kevin,
That's
Kevin made that choice.
That's all I get is the Avatar guy now.
Oh, jeez, brutal.
No,
That's a good
that's
spot
the
to be in.
worst. Yeah, I don't like that because then I have to be a James Cameron guy, and I don't want that.
No. You're not. There's a huge difference between being an Avatar guy and a James Cameron guy.
Okay, I'm glad there's a difference.
You're not a James Cameron guy.
Differences there. I'm
We're
not.
gonna let you off the hook for that.
Okay, good. But I would say it's a 5.5. Go see it in theaters. Stop being a stick in the mud.
Okay.
I mean, well, everyone else has already seen it in theaters because it's made $2 billion. So
Well, and also
it is really
my
just
family,
you guys.
My family has paid money to see Avatar. My wife went and saw it.
Oh my gosh, what is wrong with you?
She loved it.
You are holding a ridiculous grudge right now.
I told you. I'm
This is. I will say it's childish.
I'm being a child.
You and Isaac
Just
and
call
Mark.
me Zane. Just call me
You,
Zane.
Isaac, and Mark are being children right
And
now.
Jared, for sure. But
Jared has a better reason. Jared's reason we're not going to get into.
I can't adopt Jared's reason. Jared's reason is the reason I'm not going here.
Do you know Jared's reason? We know.
He said it on our podcast. He said it on This Day in Lee's.
Did he?
Yes. Go back. If you don't know what we're talking about, go to This Day in Lee's.
Yeah. So Jared has a legit reason, and I totally respect Jared's reason. I don't respect any of your guys' reasons. I respect Jared.
I no longer respect your rating, Avatar guy. Robbie. So that should be on your bio now for Twitter. Just go ahead and
Avatar
put,
guy.
I'm an Avatar guy.
I'm the Avatar guy.
Yeah. So whenever we get anybody that's interested in Avatar, we'll have them reach out to you. Dude, we're at an hour already. So
Nice.
we need to shut down shop.
Get
I
through
thought we
your
were gonna do
nerd
hot or
news.
snot, but we're not.
We don't need to do hot or snot.
No, we don't. Last question. The new Shazam Fear of the Gods trailer. Did you see it?
When did that drop?
Today.
Oh shoot. No, I didn't see that.
Okay. Go check it out. I'll review that then real quick. I saw it.
Okay.
It's Robbie, I hate to be this guy, but I think it spoiled the whole movie.
I'm already at this movie's going to be average level
Yeah.
anyway.
So I don't like that it spoiled it because this is the one DC movie that I'm like kind of grieving we're losing through this process aside from Man of Steel, but I think that's a different conversation.
That hasn't been said.
What?
James Gunn hasn't said anything about Shazam.
Well, I'm assuming this doesn't matter. I'm hoping that's not the case, but I'm assuming going into it that this is the last time I'll see this rendition of the character.
Yeah.
So the trailer was very mid. I'll give it a 4 out of 6. I really like the music. They have been doing some awesome music choices for the Shazam trailers.
Yeah.
Like every Shazam trailer's got great music selection. And they do it again here. So that was cool. But like they show a ton of the fighting in this, which is like really shocking. It kind of goes through the whole Robbie. I think it legit goes through the whole story arc.
Also, I'm gonna watch that right after we get off here.
I don't think I can recommend anybody watches this trailer. I really don't think I can do that. Now again, it's the same conversation we had about the Ant-Man trailer. Mark, me, and Leathers. Maybe I'm wrong, and they're bamboozling me. But I don't know if DC in its current state is able to do that. So I think it did show me all of it. So I would give strong caution to anybody that wants to watch this trailer. If you're okay with being spoiled with it, check it out. but there's some beats that are just
Yeah.
like basically spelled out of what's going to happen in this movie.
Unfortunately, there are wheels set in motion that James Gunn just can't stop at this moment. So like
Exactly.
Shazam and the Flash are like DC has said no, we're doing them no matter what. And James Gunn doesn't have a choice. So like I'm not grading anything to be James Gunn's fault until after the Flash movie.
And
After
for clarity, I agree with you.
Yeah. And I do think at this point, because James Gunn's taken over and that they've already said that Jason Momoa is not going to be Aquaman, but they're going to make the second Aquaman movie still, I think is a huge mistake. If you're going to cut things, cut the shit. Like, just like...
Gotta make that money.
Yeah, I know. And so maybe we need to say after Aquaman, that's when we go, okay, now is James Gunn. Like, and that's our cutoff. So anything until then... I mean, I'll go see it because it's DC, and I think there's a chance that Shazam could be an okay movie. The Flash, Ezra Miller can kick rocks. I liked the first Aquaman. I love Jason Momoa, but the fact that we know that he's not going to be Aquaman after it is a little disheartening and doesn't make me very excited.
He is a Lobo.
Perfect Lobo.
Great selection.
And I hope that they do some sort of multiversal BS and explain it and fix things because it all needs an overhaul. We've talked about this at length. Like if you're DC, just go away for like 5 years and then come back. And they're not going to. But
James Gunn has such a tough
make 6 seasons of Peacemaker. Just make 6 seasons of Peacemaker, and then in 2028 we'll get. You can give us, I don't know, give us whatever you want. Give us the Flash. Give us Green Lantern. Just give us whoever. Give us Hawkman. I don't know. Doesn't matter.
Dude, it's going to be No Name City for DC. I think
that is the move.
I think Gunn is just going to pull randos off the street.
Well, he's proven that he can do that and makes it work. He can do whatever he wants.
Yeah, like, I think he'll do that. And
if he goes and grabs like Pedro Pascal.
What superhero would you let Pedro Pascal be?
I wasn't really saying for a superhero, but like, gosh, who would Pedro? Ooh, Elastic Man, potentially.
I want him to be a more serious role. I want him in a serious role. I'll be honest with you. That's a little too silly for me.
That is a little silly,
dude. You know what? Pascal would actually
thinking like randoms.
He actually wouldn't be a bad Batman. I know he's older.
No,
he wouldn't be a bad Batman.
No.
I wouldn't think he'd be a bad Batman.
No, not. No.
He's got that raspy voice.
No.
He looks good in a suit. Come on.
Yeah.
I love how you're turning around. How you're like, no, I'm not even going to acknowledge.
I'm looking at my Funko. I'm looking at my Funko Pops, trying to think of who he could be. I mean, we just got Dr. Fate, but holy crap, he could be a killer Dr. Fate. So.
Pierce Brosnan is my Dr. Fate.
Yeah, well, they already killed him, so F us.
And on that note, we're going to end the show. That's a good segue to end. Robbie, thank you for coming on and making time for this impromptu episode.
Very excited to be here. Very happy to talk about it. I love this show, and I love you.
I love you, too. We love you, audience. We love you guys 3000, as always. You can check us out on everything that we've talked about today. TikTok. Robbie's making great TikToks. Check out his face there. He's the face of the Infinity Bros. Oh. Discord. Keep the conversation going with us in there. Share some funny memes. Maybe see some spoilers that we find. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Twitch. Watch us play video games once in a while. We want you to be part of the Infinity Bros universe. You're invited in. We'd love to do that. Tons of other things are awaiting you in there. All of that is in the link in the show notes. Love you guys 3000. We'll see you soon. See ya. Bye.
Bye.